So my senior year of college, it was pretty smooth. Nothing major happened. Um, Honestly, a lot like my senior year of high school. I didn't have to move, so I stayed in my same place that I lived in my junior year. I, had like my group of friends, but also wasn't necessarily like needing to make a bunch of friends. And then in between my extracurricular activities, like I was volunteering at the horse ranch a lot. I think I've said like I started taking lessons at one point, and then I started going like twice a week as opposed to once a week. And then towards the end of my senior year, I started to look for employment at vet offices again, right? Because that was the whole point of me ripping myself a new one, getting a chemistry degree, was that I still, at this point, planned on going to veterinary school. But I knew that that wasn't going to happen right after college. I knew I was going to have to take some kind of break for multiple reasons. With that being said, Jane and I did have two more run ins, and one of them was actually my first time attending a music festival. So, the timeline is a little bit mixed up, but music festival, lightning in a bottle, that was that was like before senior year. So I want to say very, very late junior year, or very, very late um, junior summer, right before summer after junior year, before senior year. But that was not the first time. That was actually the second time that Jane and I crossed paths. So, y'all know how when you break up with someone, especially when you've been with someone for that long, and like I really love Jane. I've already said that, but like I really, really love Jane. And it was deeper than romantic love because this was my best friend. This was someone who I had seen go through a bunch of stuff and who I felt very overprotective of. Like, for lack of a better term, and so I and I know this sounds stupid even just saying it, but like I fought with Jane's own family to defend Jane. And I know that's horrible, but like, yeah, I was very overprotective of Jane. I don't know how else to put it. I cared a lot about her. And when you break up with someone, that doesn't necessarily all leave, right? And I've talked about like how things ended. I talked about like some of the like vengeance that I got, but she did send me a very detailed apology email, which I actually really respected. And it somewhat gave me the term I'm looking of, the conclusion that I needed. That's not the term that I'm looking for. Closure. Which, by the way, closure is so overrated. You don't need closure. You just need to keep it pushing, and you need to remove the trash from your life. And I'm not saying that necessarily in the Jane instance, but um anyway. So the first time that we reconnected, she came and spent the night with me at the apartment that we both lived at, right? For like, we lived there together for a year after moving there together from Los Angeles. So I'll never forget, my roommates gave me the room. I had a girl over, right? And I'll get to that in a second. But part of the reunion, she had come to town for, I forget what, to pick up something or whatever. And that was kind of when I realized, or when we like first reconnected. Again, y'all know how things ended, but I'll never forget like kind of catching up and her telling me like where things had kind of gone, because I knew that she had left town and she had moved back in with her parents, and I knew that that was a situation of like something disciplinary related, because her parents more than had the money to be able to keep paying her rent, right? That was not, money was never an issue with Jane and her family. Anyway, come to find out that over Christmas, right, over the winter vacation of shortly after we, well, actually, hold on, I'm going out of order. Even before that, in the fall, Jane had been working at a wealth management firm. And this was like the dream job, in her words, right on State Street, which, as you know, is like the, or maybe you didn't, like, you wouldn't know, but it's like the main strip of downtown Santa Barbara. I don't know, kind of like what maybe Market Street is to San Francisco, but Santa Barbara is like smaller and like more picturesque, and I don't know. Anyway, not rushing to go back to Santa Barbara. Nice place to visit, not the best place to live if you're not super wealthy and white and straight. So anyway. So turns out that at this wealth management firm, they had a tradition of like gin in the office, or getting tequila shots, I don't know, on Fridays. And Jane was not the type that could handle her alcohol. So that proved to be pretty bad. I remember she telling me that like one time the guy, her like boss, had to like walk her around the block a couple of times to like excuse me, tried to get her to sober up. I forget what else happened, but a couple of things happened to where they finally fired her. They finally like flat out terminated her. She didn't even last 2 months. And then I'll tell you the next thing that happened that she told me about. I'll tell you about that in the next video, and kind of how things went on from there.